Now it's time to pay some attention to the Yamaha Grizzlies carburetor. It's a Mikuni carburetor, and I haven't done anything to it since I took it off the bike when I started to rebuild the top end. Looking in this end, see some rust on the butterfly, so you certainly want to, it's a throttle butterfly, it's got some rust on it. So we're going to take the float bowl off first. Wow, I've taken a few of these apart, and this is the first one I've seen that the bowl, the float, is actually hinged to the bowl side. It's a different setup than what I'm used to seeing. So the bowl actually comes off with the float assembly. Usually the bowl just comes off and exposes the float. Well, it looks like this actually does just slide out, I guess. The looks of it. So I guess that's gonna come out of there and then turn it over and sits on this right here. So that's your seat right there for your needle. And there's the needle there. It's one of those rubber tipped ones. I could see a lot of corrosion in the bottom of that bowl. See, just a lot of corrosion. Obviously water was in this carburetor. Now I've removed that float assembly, and you can really see all the garbage that's in the bottom of the bowl here. I already knew I was going to have to rebuild this carburetor from what this quad had been through. As far as sitting for such a long time, at the very least it was going to have stale gas in here. And now looks like I was definitely right, if I can even save this carburetor by rebuilding it. So I had already ordered the kit. I got the Shindy kit, part number 03-314. And that's got, I see it's got a bowl gasket in there amongst other jets and things. So I'm going to use a sharp pick to pick out that old gasket so that I can soak this bowl a little bit. Right here is where the pilot air screw goes, and that looks like it's in really good shape. It doesn't have any corrosion on it. The float seat is just a press fit, light press fit into here, and it's got an O-ring on it. Okay, this little collar was on here like this, and then this jet screwed right in there. Now there's another jet, tiny one, down inside this hole right here. Here's what that little jet looks like. The throttle butterfly is sticking, so I want to remove the shaft so I can clean it and get any corrosion off of there. And to do that, I've got to remove those two screws, and the right hand one was really hard to get out. So you're going to be real careful not to strip those screws because they're so small. So what I did was I put a little bit of penetrating oil on there, and then I also hit it with the flame of the torch real quick, and then tapped on it to give it a little bit of mechanical shock. And then I've got a piece that fits right in there, a driver that fits in there really well, and then put a lot of downward force on it as I turn it to break it free. And you take two screws off to take this diaphragm assembly out. You take this off, inspect the diaphragm, make sure there are no cracks or holes in the rubber diaphragm, and then check and see the condition of this needle. And I believe the new kit actually comes with a new needle, so we'll probably be changing that out anyways. And then once you have that out, that allows you to tap this right on the bottom here in, like I just did. That will start to stick up now in the center there, and you can actually slide this right out. Now you have a port on this side you want to make sure is clear, port here, and then you have another little tiny jet right there. This tiny O-ring, which is backed by a tiny brass washer, actually goes in the hole here before the spring and the pilot screw go in. So you got to fish that out, and then the kit comes with a new one. Okay, I've inserted the pilot screw, its spring, the washer, and the O-ring in the proper order. I've screwed it in till it lightly seats and then backed it out 3.5 turns, which is the suggested initial starting point for this particular quad. I've also replaced this jet. I've also replaced this jet and that needle seat assembly. It's basically this whole thing here. And now I'm going to put in the new float seat, which is somewhere. It's right here in this plastic. Comes with a new O-ring. Here's the old one. Here's how the float assembly goes in. Got the new float needle and seat already inserted. And you keep it inverted like this until you get the bowl tightened on. Now I've peeled the diaphragm off of this cover. See a lot of corrosion in this cover. I'll clean that out while I've got it apart. But the main reason I wanted to peel this diaphragm off is so that now, if I push up on this needle, I can actually get this needle to pop right out. Now, this needle, when you put it back together, there's actually a little tiny C-clip, or E-clip, that holds this needle onto this little plastic piece. The little plastic piece gets reused. The needle has more than one slot on it, and you want to make sure when you put this back together, you put this back together identical, because if you actually move that E-clip or C-clip into a different slot, you're actually going to change. That's actually an alignment in the carburetor that you're going to change. It's important when putting this diaphragm back in that you be careful when you're putting the cap on, that you don't pinch this diaphragm in here the wrong way, because you'll definitely have problems.